Hello, everybody. This is Trevor Truck ASMR, and welcome to TF2. And this is the holiday edition. And in celebration, I have a shotgun here with a Christmas-themed skin on top. Now, how useful will this shotgun actually be in the heat of battle? That remains to be seen. But we will do what we can to get some frags, as they say. I certainly hope that everyone is having a good month. I don't know exactly when this video will be put up, but I assume you will be seeing this in December. And I just hope that everyone is enjoying themselves. And here's one thing that's really important, is taking ample time to rest up, get yourself recharged to face another day. Sometimes it is really hard to, ooh, did I get a gift? Sometimes it's really hard to recharge your batteries when, you're constantly thinking about, oh, it's the holidays, I gotta shop, I gotta go to the store, I gotta go to the Walmart, buy some gift cards, and oh, there's the Secret Santa. Oh, and I can't forget the fruitcake. Oh gosh, the fruitcake. Sometimes our brains get so frenzied this time of year, it's not even funny. And you know what's weird? The weird thing is, every time I talk about stress and making sure you find a way to relax, I'm usually playing TF2 when I bring up these things. Can I jump? Never mind. Okay, it's all good. I just think it's kind of funny because this game is the epitome of stress. To a certain extent. I mean, I'm not actually really all that stressed out right now. Today is a beautiful day to record, and I'm glad to be doing that. And I'm really trying hard to not let things bring me down. Which is easier said than done. I'll tell you right now. Yesterday at work was bad. It was a day from hell. And I honestly, sometimes I think back on days like that, and I don't really know how I get through them. I think, to a certain extent, you kind of get used to dealing with a lot of stress, and you almost get to a point where you're numb to it, and you're like, yep, this place is falling apart, and I'm not getting anything done, and customers are angry and upset, and we're late on certain things, and it's a disaster. Here's a little snippet of wisdom, and I don't know if you need this today. Maybe someone needs it today. I don't know. There's one quote that I've heard quite a bit. It's like a proverb. And I'm gonna butcher it when I say it, but there's this idea that wisdom is knowing the difference between what you can change and what you can't change. And in the case of things that you can't change, you need to learn to let it go and just come to a place of acceptance. That's wisdom right there. Excuse me, that was rude. I was having my TED talk and you totally roasted my hams. But I go back to that point. Okay. So yes, wisdom is knowing the difference between the actions you can take to change things, and knowing what you can't change in the moment. And yesterday at work, there were certain things that I couldn't change, right? We were running late on orders. Okay, can't really do much about that. We were already kind of in the red. Okay, but beyond that, I was also talking to some customers, and I couldn't necessarily solve their problems, And, you're talking to these customers on the phone. They're upset because their orders are nowhere to be found, or in another case, there were items that were missing in an order. And I'm like, well, I don't know where the rest of the order is at. And you're putting, it's like I put one customer on hold so I could talk to another customer. And it's like, I don't have an immediate solution to the problem. Now, in years past, I would have given in to the stress and I would have let it affect me in a way that would have made it next to impossible to think straight. But, like I said, sometimes, and this goes back to wisdom, sometimes you kind of have to let the Jenga tower fall. Like, if there's gonna be a failure, then sometimes you just gotta let it play out before you can think straight, before you can get back to what you were doing. And that's kind of my philosophy. That was my philosophy yesterday. I'm like, okay, everything has gone to shit. I can't change it right away. I have to just embrace it. And sometimes it actually helps you. Because it can't... There are certain moments where you're like, okay, this can't get any worse. I'm already at the threshold of hell. So, it's gonna be okay. And that's another thing you have to tell yourself when you're in those situations. I understand dealing with customers is high pressure. It is, it's terrible sometimes because customers don't care about policy. They don't care about how things run. They don't care about the logistics or the fact that sometimes things just don't work out. And they don't want to hear about mistakes. Right? You could apologize to them all you wanted, right? But it's not going to make a damn difference to them because they're at one end of the delivery of goods process. And all that they have to care about is simply getting the things that they purchased. That's all they need to care about. And so you have to take that into consideration when you're dealing with customers, especially difficult customers. And yes, there are plenty of difficult customers, I swear. But you gotta tell yourself that it's okay, even if you're in the middle of that stress. You've got to remind yourself that my shift will end. And when that shift ends, I can leave it behind. I can leave the stress behind. And it's gonna be okay. I will be home at some point. And I know it's really hard not to lose your mind sometimes, because certain situations can be very difficult, but I'm actually proud of myself for how I handled that situation. I didn't capitulate. I didn't fall down. I just did the best that I could do. So, during this time of year, it's really stressful, so I like to bring stuff up that's related to stress. Anyway, what do you say we do another map? And let's try our best to win this stuff. Hey, this is kind of nice. You can kind of roll this thing around. Actually, maybe not. Dang it. I wanted to play soccer with it. Oh, you have to use a melee attack. You know what's crazy? You know what's crazy? Oh, okay. I was about to say, I don't actually know how to do melee attacks, but figured it out. Yeah, there's a lot I don't know about this game. But I am very happy to have this very festive shotgun, which I probably won't even use that much in the game, to be completely honest with you. Okay. Well, let's start this circus. Merry Christmas, everybody. Where do we go? I'm gonna follow the group, because I'm not familiar with this map. Where is everybody? Oh, there we are. Nice. I like the way that everyone dresses up. It's very, very, very festive. You know, a lot of things have changed since I was a kid, especially when it comes to Christmas and Christmas shopping, but I just want to share a very sort of vague memory, especially because malls are not really that popular anymore. But I remember as a kid, during the Christmas season, there would be a time where we would go to a mall. You know, it could have been any mall. And we would do our Christmas shopping. And of course, the one thing I loved about malls was the food courts. You all know exactly what I'm talking about, the food courts. They would have all sorts of food, all sorts of different cuisines from, you know, different franchises. And me, personally, I was always the Chinese food kid. You know, I just loved the Chinese food because there was something about it that was different than takeout. And I can't quite put my finger on it, but there was a different quality to the food that just kind of worked with me. And so I would get Chinese food quite a bit. And I remember, I guess it was maybe the teriyaki chicken with fried rice. The fried rice having the chopped up carrots and peas. Oh my god. I miss it. I miss it so much. I haven't had that type of Chinese food in a long, long time. It was always so good. So anyway, we would go to these malls at some point in December, and I remember there was one mall. It was a little bit out of the way, but it had, had all these stores. You know, you had your sports stores, which my dad really liked. You had your gourmet gift basket store. I think it was called Harry and David's, where they had, those gift baskets that have this like very salty salami and cheese and mustards. Oh, I love the mustards. I love deli mustard. Oh my gosh. I cannot describe how much the right mustard changes a holiday dish. It's all about the mustard. It's another pearl of wisdom, right? Get the right mustard and you're gonna have yourself a delicious meal. Let me reload real quick. You're still there. See, you kind of have to anticipate that they're gonna show up over there. And that has always worked for me. Keep shooting it. Nice shot, man. Okay. I also remember the mall would have kind of like a candle store. It's mostly candles. You had your Hallmark stores with the cards and the candles too. What else? I mean, there was a Disney store. I remember one year on Christmas Eve. I'll never forget it. It was me, my brother, and my dad. We went to this one mall, and they had a fucking Lego store. Now, let me tell you something, okay? When you're a kid, about 12, 13 years old, like I was, your dad takes you to the mall that has the Lego store. There's nothing better. There's nothing better. And I still love Lego, don't get me wrong, but gosh, when you enter an actual Lego store, you see all the selections. I remember picking out so many different types of Lego pieces. Gosh, to be a kid again and to experience that again. I'll tell you another place we would go to during Christmas time, or at least I remember going there during Christmas time. How many of you have been to IKEA? You know, it's the Swedish type of store that sells a bunch of different types of furniture. Now, let me tell you something. If you've never been to an IKEA, you probably need to go to an IKEA. It is quite an experience. You get a little taste of Sweden each time you go inside an IKEA. And the store is it is sprawling. It is huge. You could literally get lost in an IKEA. You could be lost in an IKEA for days and nights. But the thing about IKEA is that it's more than just a furniture store. It's an experience. It's like walking into a theme park almost. And I remember they also had this food court. It was amazing. And so, those of you who have been to an IKEA, you know exactly what I'm talking about, but I want to make this abundantly clear. IKEA has always been known for its amazing Swedish meatballs. And just, you get this plate of the meatballs, and, you know, it's covered in this, I don't know. I don't want to say Alfredo. I don't think that's correct, but it's covered in a creamy sauce, noodles. And I don't know what you call the noodles. I was about to say schnitzel, but that's definitely not correct. It was delicious. And then IKEA sells this type of jelly that is really hard to beat. And I forget what it's called. Lingonberry. That's what it is. Yes. IKEA sells lingonberry jelly. Delicious jelly. Probably the most delicious jelly that you will ever have. It's so delicious, you could probably put it on top of the meatballs and it would be a holy combination of food. Oh my gosh, I just remember the huge parking garage just for IKEA alone. IKEA, quite frankly, it could be its own country. It's like a melting pot of different cultures, primarily Swedish culture, but I don't know, I just have a lot of good memories associated. I'm not particularly excited about shopping for furniture, but it's really more, I would say, about the experience versus anything else. But yeah, we would go to IKEA. We would go to a bunch of different malls. I definitely remember that. There were a lot of stores that I miss. For instance, when I was a kid, at the closest mall, the most local of the malls, there was this store called Wizards of the East Coast, It was always interesting to go in there because they would sell a whole bunch of hobbyist things. You know what I'm saying? They would sell, you know, Pokemon trading cards, for instance, you know. There was also a Warhammer store where, you know, they sell the mini figurines that you paint. I never got into the game itself, but I remember... Gosh, I wish I knew where they were, because I remember painting those small figurines. Gosh, where are they now? I couldn't even... I couldn't find them if I tried, but I kind of miss doing that. I kind of want to do that again. I want to paint those small figurines. Anyway, mall culture. I miss it. I miss it so much. Malls are now... I can't speak for any other country, but in the United States, I think malls are pretty much dying. I think they're pretty much a thing of the past, which is a shame. Because I actually really enjoyed the mall shopping experience, you know? I mean, it's not something that I would want to do, like, all the time. Absolutely not, but, nonetheless, it was always really fun. I haven't really been paying attention to the game very well, so, for all of you TF2 experts who are watching me fail at every turn, sorry about that. But I'm also kind of not sorry. You know, the point of this video is to help people kind of relax, you know? And I hope that so far it has been relaxing for you. And I think the mission is to push this cart. We will protect the payload. Tell you another thing I miss is, you know, close to Christmas time, there was always these Christmas movies that would come on that we would always watch. Some of them are really cheesy, but I remember the animated ones. We used to watch Frosty the Snowman. We used to watch the Charlie Brown Christmas special, which I think Apple completely owns that now, so good luck trying to find it if you don't have any Apple services. That was always fun. What else? The one... I remember Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. That's obviously a classic from Rankin Bass. And then you had the one where... Shit, what was it called? It was the one that had the Heat Miser in it. But I don't remember what it was. And then you had your live-action movies. Home Alone, Christmas with the Cranks, Jingle All the Way. I think the live-action Grinch was actually pretty good for its time. And of course, how could I forget the Polar Express? That movie, I've talked about it before, you know. And I know people kind of make fun of it because at the time it was released, the graphics looked pretty bad, you know, like PS2 graphics, but I don't really care about that. It was a great movie. And the first time that I saw the movie, this is just such a strange time and place for it. I was actually a kid, and I was, you know, we used to go to Atlantic City in New Jersey all the time for Christmas vacation. And obviously, being a kid, I couldn't gamble because Atlantic City is known for its casinos and stuff like that. But there was this place where they had this movie theater within the casino, right? And they had 3D movies. The first time I saw the Polar Express, I was actually in that theater. And, you know, you put the 3D glasses on, and oh my gosh, that was quite an experience. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the movie. There's a lot of bizarre elements to it, but for its time, it was a good movie. and I liked all the music in that one. Actually, there's a theme. There's kind of like a theme in it. I'm pretty sure a lot of you know who Josh Groban is. But there was a song called Believe by Josh Groban. Excellent song. Really fit with the movie very well. But yeah, I associate a lot of great memories with that movie. And I'll never forget, there was one kid with blonde hair who wore glasses. I don't remember his name. But it was always funny because he was kind of a nerdy character. And for any of you who watched Dexter's Lab, which is a great cartoon on its own, there's a character named Mandark who's kind of like Dexter's rival. And the same voice actor who played Mandark also played this spoiled, nerdy kid in the Polar Express. I always thought that was kind of funny because it's a very unique, instantly recognizable voice. You know, there's a very, let's just say there's a very nasally element to that particular type of voice. I always found it funny. See, there were some other Christmas movies that I watched. Trying to think. Very, very long time ago, I think it was Alvin and the Chipmunks Christmas, which, and you know, if you asked me to watch any Chipmunks content right now, I would tell you to ask someone else, because I will not. There's no way that I would be able to stand the Chipmunks' voices. It's grating, okay? Give me a headache at this point. I remember watching, there was like a Mickey Mouse Christmas special. I think there was a Winnie the Pooh Christmas special that I used to watch. There was a Shrek Christmas special, if I remember correctly. I don't think it was that good. Oh, what else? I mean, what didn't I watch at this point? On Cartoon Network, they had Olive the Other Reindeer, which is kind of a play on words. It was a pretty good one, I think. And then, of course, you have A Christmas Carol. Many, many renditions of that particular story. And I remember the one with not Donald Duck, but Scrooge Duck, I guess. What's his name? Mick Scrooge or something like that? Anyway, that one's a classic. I do remember that one. And then years later, I would actually watch the Tim Burton Christmas Carol. That was not a movie for kids. That movie was kind of disturbing, I'm not gonna lie. That was very, very disturbing. Not to say it was bad, it was just, wow. I didn't think you could do that, but I guess you could. And then of course you got the Santa Claus movies. Now, people are very mixed on the Santa Claus movies with, you know, Tim Allen. I think the first one is the best, of course. But you can tell when you watch the second and the third one, you can tell how much the story, the characters, you can tell how much it's all getting watered down. See, I feel like the first Santa Claus movie was definitely written with adults in mind, and then they kind of worked to make it more kid-friendly with the second and third one especially. And it just didn't hit the same way. I'm not saying I would never watch them again, but it doesn't hit the same way. It's not as funny. You can tell that there's something that's lacking. I think it was the third Santa Claus movie where they introduced, you know, the fairy godmother, the tooth fairy, Mother Nature, and like all these other mythical holiday creatures. You could tell it was starting to jump the shark. Take one look at the Easter Bunny. Okay, this movie, yeah, it jumped the shark for sure. Which when you have sequels of Christmas movies, that does tend to happen. There are probably some movies where, quite honestly, there should not be any sequels. Just as a rule of thumb. Just as a rule of thumb. I will say, though, I really enjoyed Jingle All the Way with Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's kind of it's a really funny movie. It really is. I enjoyed that one very much. Oh, and then there's the one with Vince Vaughn in it. What's that called? Fred Claus? That one's funny. I gotta go back and watch this stuff. But, you know, I really enjoyed that one too. I think that was incredibly funny. What else? Well, there's always there's always this one thing that I watch on Netflix. It's called Merry Happy Whatever. And it's actually, so it's one of those sitcoms, and I think there's like 6 episodes, and it's Christmas based, of course. And I don't know why I keep watching it, because it's actually not that great. You know, it's a sitcom with the stupid laugh tracks, and the characters make the characters make some very weak jokes a lot of the time. But it's weird. I keep coming back to it for some reason. There's something about it that just, I don't know. It just makes me feel like Christmas, you know? It just becomes a sort of tradition, even though the writing and the jokes are kind of weak sometimes, you know? Like, I think what that show is guilty of is taking quirks and using the quirks themselves as the actual joke material. And it's like, nah, that kind of gets old after a while. You know, you kind of have to do something different. But I'm not going to complain too much, quite honestly. Oh, wow, this thing is on fire. Holy cow. Okay. All right, everybody. I think I'm going to take a break for right now. Thank you for listening to my Christmas rant. This was the very definition of free association, because I just talked about anything and everything that came to mind. But I hope you liked it nonetheless. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you all have a Merry, Merry Christmas. All right. I'll see you in another video. Goodbye.